content creators will find themselves running out of motivation at some point in their creative process. Now, this is very typical, and it's something that can help be alleviated by researching intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. These are gamification theory ideas that use psychology to understand why people do certain things and what encourages them to keep doing it. So these are the Kublai Khan lessons at 8 p.m. every Pacific Standard Time Tuesday. And today we're going to be talking about how to have motivation when you're creating content online. This is something that is very personally integrated with me. It's something that I've worked on myself to figure things out. And it's time to sort of walk you guys through a little bit of what I've learned and also how I think it will apply to you guys. So to begin, what is intrinsic motivation? Intrinsic motivation is anything that you like doing. Like if you enjoy petting dogs and playing with dogs, or if you like playing video games, or really anything that feels like you're refreshing yourself. So if you've had a rough day, you go home and you read a book. You go home and you cook because you love to cook, or you go home and you draw, or you go home and you take a nap. Like that is intrinsic motivation, something that you do purely because you enjoy it. Then there is extrinsic motivation. Now this is sort of the outside, extrinsic as an external, outside motivators. So this is the thing where it's like if I go exercise at a gym and I get strong, that's extrinsic. If I do a service by like cleaning some gutters and get paid, that's extrinsic. So the idea is anything that you're provided, like praise, like encouragement, even avoiding punishment, is a type of extrinsic motivation. Now, with intrinsic motivation, this is something that internally, since it feels so damn good, you will have zero problem continuing to do it. It's something that you go home and you're like, I can't wait to play video games. And of course, everybody has a limit, but you will never really feel like you need to motivate yourself to do something in this bucket. Versus extrinsic, this is something where you're like, no, I need that outside reward in order to do this extra task. Whether it's that I'm working, whether it's that I'm cleaning, whether it's I'm working out. Like the only reason I do it is because of the benefit I get out of this. So in online content terms, intrinsic is the joy of things like making a video, or making a show. So if you as a creator are really proud of the video that you made, you're like, this is really funny, or it's really educational, or it's really motivating, or it's really supporting, I'm proud of that. Or if it's a show, I'm very proud of the way I was able to introduce people to these things. That is a type of intrinsic motivation that you get from doing something in online content. It's funness, so to speak. I mean, if you're a video gamer and you like playing games and you like having fans watch or playing with fans, you have a good time. You go home and you stream because it feels good. Funness. Extrinsic is the joy of like views on online content. It'll be things like subs, whether they're subscribers on YouTube or subscribers on Twitch. And then it's things like money, like the actual cold hard cash part where, oh, I received $100 this time, or oh, I got 10 more subscribers. So it's the success metrics. These are things that you need still in order to carry on and do this full time, or typically to have the skill set to do this as a career. So they're very useful. In fact, you should identify with both of them. But one of the things that it skipped ahead a little bit, let's see if I pop back, but I'm going to switch. Yeah, you know what? We'll explain this real quick. If you look just above right here, where it says unable to control extrinsic, now it says control intrinsic right there. The point of this is that, I'm going to pop that down so it doesn't get too confusing. The point is that intrinsic feelings are things you can control. So, meaning that if you really like to play video games, you can choose to put video games into your life. If you really like to make money, that's something that isn't in your control. Same things like views. You can make something really good, but it doesn't mean people are going to watch it. You could try to make a great product and put it up for sale, but it doesn't mean people are going to buy it. That's something where you don't really control these extrinsic motivators, whilst you can control those internal ones. So what this means is that you should avoid relying on extrinsic motivators for your YouTube videos or your Twitch streams and those kind of things, because you don't have control of them. Intrinsically, you do, but extrinsically, you can't make people come and watch. You can encourage, but you can't make. So that creates a loss of motivation in the long run. It's something where you make a video and nobody watches it. You make another video, nobody watches it. You make a third video, nobody watches it. And eventually you're like, it's really hard to continue the grind. Well, the grind exists because you're relying on extrinsic motivations. What you should try to do is to combine intrinsic motivations with extrinsic motivations. So an example of what this could be, because both are so very useful, is, well, before I get into the example, I guess, intrinsic keeps you going, it's really good because that's the gasoline sort of thing. And then extrinsic allows you to keep the car running, so to speak. That's the maintenance and that kind of thing. But this is how I like to think of it. If you were to go to the gym, right, if you're going to exercise and work out, that requires a lot of discipline. That's a very known thing that people say, like, it's impressive that you get yourself to the gym every single Tuesday and Wednesday or whatever, that you do lift some weights, you listen to music, and you repeat this, and it requires discipline to do so, because in the long run, you get this benefit of a healthier body, right? You're going to have that, maybe you're trying to look better, maybe you're trying to be stronger, but in the end, you require an extrinsic motivator to do this. That's where the discipline comes. Now, there's a thing known as a bouldering gym. This is something that I do. This is like a jungle gym of all these things where you climb up these 8 to 12 foot walls, and you got to figure out how to climb them. This thing, I'm like a kid being released into recess when I see these things. I love bouldering gyms. I have no problem with discipline with going because I intrinsically enjoy climbing. So I go, I just have a good time, whether I'm tired, whether I'm feeling great. It really doesn't matter because I just enjoy the process of climbing in these bouldering gyms. Now, that means that when I go to the gym, I feel good. The extrinsic benefit of getting a healthier body by having to repeatedly move myself up and down these walls is something that is a great bonus. However, it's not the reason why I'm going. It's one of the benefits, and it certainly motivates me, but the real reason is because I just love doing it. This requires a lot of discipline, and people, how they describe it, you gotta set that habit. This is just fucking fun. I invite people to just join me, and it's a great place to try. I highly recommend it if you're looking for something. So, moving this on to online content stuff, if I wanted to think about this for me, because in the end, a lot of these intrinsic, extrinsic things, extrinsic is very easy to identify. Intrinsic things, though, are very personal. I get really happy explaining concepts. I really like taking these big ideas and turning them into these presentations and presenting them to you guys. Now, it has an extrinsic problem, though, which is that a lot of these types of videos have less audience than something like gameplay. And so what I end up finding is that I really enjoy intrinsically presenting these kind of things. However, extrinsically, so the business side of it, it doesn't necessarily always support. So I want to come up with a way to potentially fix this, and this could be gameplay and concepts. So this would be something where there is some gameplay, let's play sort of stuff, mixed in with some concepts of things that I think are interesting. Last stream, we had actually discussed about the idea of providing gameplay videos and then taking that live experience and then breaking that down as a lecture lesson later. Maybe that's the way we do it, but this is an example of combining intrinsic and extrinsic. In the same way, when you think of bouldering gyms as a fun example of where you can go climb and goof off and just have a great time, and then you also get that extrinsic benefit of getting healthier, compared to like a gym where some people who truly enjoy lifting weights enjoy it, but it is typically requires more discipline to begin. This is in a similar light. I like to explain concepts. However, there's an extrinsic problem of, see if I can do that. There you go. Let's Play Education has less audience. So, gameplay and concepts increases the amount of audience that is there and allows me to provide a good, interesting thing. It also helps me in the long run because now I'm able to enjoy what I do more, as well as make sure it grows more. So it has a very positive feedback loop occurring there. Anyway, so we're going to move on to a Q&A section, which instead of skipping over to it, we're just going to leave it on and that kind of thing. So if you guys enjoy this, please come back next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be talking about another interesting thing, and these are my lovely patrons who are asking questions. So if you're interested in learning more and having a chance to do that, come ask, find out, and we'll chat about it. All right? See you. All right, good people. So that is the discussion on extrinsic and intrinsic. And I wanted to share that today because I have been trying to figure out a good extrinsic, intrinsic business model for this channel. And I thought that would fit really well because Kool-Aid Moonwalk talked about it too. Needed to blow my nose. So do you guys have any questions? Any examples that you want me to go over, repeat? Let's see, I feel like it's easy to get caught up in the YouTube dream where you make a living off of it, notoriety, etc. You feel the need to go big and try to make people, or content that appeals to people. It becomes compromised on what content you should make. So I think this is a really interesting point because one thing that exists about intrinsic and extrinsic is that there is a flawed idea on YouTube that you should play whatever you want to play and then growth might happen. It's a flawed idea because it doesn't focus on the extrinsic part. There's another idea that I've seen on YouTube, which is that all you need to do to be successful is figure out this algorithmic trick and then keep doing that. Well, it doesn't focus on the intrinsic benefits either. It's, as you put it, it becomes a compromise. The thing is that finding an intrinsic joy for what you do, a lot of people call it genuine. They say if you genuinely like what you do and you get good at it, you will get better at getting an audience just because your videos are good. Alternatively, that doesn't necessarily apply if you're getting good at something that people aren't searching for, right? When we talk about help content, you need to find an extrinsic balance so that your intrinsic benefits that make you motivated to do it feed into that. So it definitely bounces back and forth in that regard, and is something that I would recommend. It requires thinking, what am I liking and what do I think I can combine? Because a lot of the people that I've met, and one of the people we've talked about before, 8-Bit Ninja, who was the guy who got 100,000 subscribers in 2 months, he is interested, or at least I assume he is interested because we've chatted about this and he said he was, that he's interested in the idea of finding little games that aren't popular yet and then playing them and then them spiking. He likes finding that. He feels like that's part of the game to him, so he intrinsically finds benefit. Dragast is like that too. Blitzkrieger has mentioned the same thing. And so, for me, that's not my intrinsic joy. But I see we got some more questions here. So, Receive Music, it's nice to see you. It's been a little while. I finally made it to the stream. I've been keeping up with your VODs. Cool. Hope you have some questions that I can help you with today, or at least the content's been very good. Arain, so what do you personally do, or maybe you've never had this happen, where the intrinsic joy gets removed by the extrinsic stress? Oh, goodness, I have absolutely had that happen. Technically I've had it happen here, in a way. Let's go back to, if we talk about the actual ideas that I've provided with these lessons, is I do like breaking these things down, these various ideas of, motivation and stuff. Now, that's something that comes straight from me, because I was reading up on gamification to try to understand the grind, which is a term people like to use when there's a point A and a point B, and there's a period of work that you have to do, and you don't experience really any progression change in between this grind portion. Now, in video games, if you design the gameplay experience well, the grind is enjoyable, and that's intrinsically rewarding. People will grind to get to the next level. So I wanted to understand why people maintained that grind and how I could apply it. In something like this here, what I considered the grind was finding video content that was beginner level. One of the things that is very effective for growing a YouTube channel based upon teaching people is finding beginner lessons and pushing those out. I personally feel like there's a lot of those out there, and so unless I feel like I can apply an advanced filter on it, I don't really like to do it. That is an example of where extrinsically it's good for me to do these beginning lessons. Intrinsically, I feel that they're kind of blah. I don't feel like I'm adding anything. So how do I personally do this, as I gave you all that extra context? I think about it, honestly. I talk to people about it. The idea that we shared with each other last week of playing games and then also doing a teaching thing off of that. One of my ideas would be something like where this stream would be a gameplay stream. Then there'd be another stream that would be editing that gameplay stream down, talking about strategy and stuff like that. And then another stream would be about looking at the data of that video. So it would be like bink, 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 right? And maybe we would do that like a data stream once a month or something. But the point is that it would be something that people would experience multiple layers. So like as Received Music's talking about here, he misses Fallout 4 stuff. And honestly, that's not something that I'm necessarily against going back to. I think I would find a game that I would have a better chance of making a splash in. However, I love RPGs and that kind of thing, and this would allow me to serve this group of people here, as well as to be able to serve myself, because I liked playing those games, and then also serve this other side that I'm interested in, the teaching side. I think what I've learned is that many people are going to tell you to approach doing YouTube, but those are personalized plans and not transferable to everyone. That is correct on the intrinsic side, for sure. Intrinsically, those are very personal. Also, Received Music, thank you for saying you like my old stuff, because it does make me feel good. I tried real hard, and I'm interested in trying again, but I'm figuring out how to do it. Because one of the intrinsic rules, and this applies to everybody, is that I need to make sure I have enough time, that I don't get rid of something, an opportunity cost of something for something else. Worst part is where you see results with content that you're not necessarily enjoy making, you feel pressure to keep making that content. Yes. So the major challenge of finding a way to do both. Extrinsic benefits with intrinsic benefits. Because you can be an intrinsic person and potentially grow, but you're not making stuff with extrinsic C's in mind. I don't think that's a noun, but I made it up. And extrinsic, you need to motivate, right? Intrinsic being the gasoline of your car that drives you forward. Extrinsic being the maintenance, making sure the car is working and tinkered and at full optimum levels. Oh wait, there's going to be Fallout 76, so you can make a comeback with that. Received Music, I could. I think actually if I was going to do that, I would need to start doing videos about Fallout 76 now. There is a gentleman, goes by the name of Danville, who's actually doing exactly that strategy. It's a Shadow of War live streamer, who then started doing Fallout 76 stuff and discussions. And I think that would be how I would do that. I would do videos on it, and potentially I would actually have some YouTube algorithmic stuff related to it too. So it'd be worth trying out. And I'm interested in 76. I think that would provide a lot of good live stream content as well. So, potentially. But I have to, as I've described, I'm figuring out the intrinsic thing. Hello, Crypto Guys. Crypto Guys is one of the mods from Shadow of War. It's nice to have you here, good man. We're discussing this idea of intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. These are things that intrinsically... Actually, does someone in chat want to describe what intrinsic is and extrinsic? You can just flood the chat with all these ideas and explanations. I don't care who does it. Everybody could do it too. I think that would be fun. I forgot, though, how long it takes in the passing of time for that, so I'm going to have some water. Very good. So, Crypto Guys, it's nice to see you here. If I don't see chat suddenly flood with it, I can remind again. But the point being that it's fun to see how other people are doing it. Oh, we got it! Thank you, Arain. Intrinsic is what you enjoy, doing just for the joy of it. Extrinsic is the things you do for the outside rewards. Intrinsic motivation is where you do an objective with no internal hurdles or barrier. I don't know if I worded it the way I wanted to. So this is actually, I think, something that might be worth doing, is having people describe... Yeah, actually, I like that. What's extrinsic, guys? I really appreciate seeing what you feel they mean, because it's very important to repeat back or paraphrase, because then when you apply it to your own words, you have your own understanding of everything. I'm going to open this window. It's very warm. There we go. So, Crypto, do you have any questions about that? Extrinsic motivations, where you are able or motivated to do an objective for a tangible thing like views. Oh, we're seeing more. Breath of fresh wind. It's wonderful. I like this part. I feel like I'm really teaching class now when I'm having you guys saying things back to me. This would be something where I almost feel like we could go on to Mixer for this, but if I'm going to use it... Hold on. The problem with that is if I was going to use Restream. Restream doesn't have the lights, faster than light beam power that makes Mixer, allowing you to have instantaneous conversation. So... Anyway, crypto guys, do you have any questions about what extrinsic could be? So he likes it too, unless the purr indicates he's... What? Was that for us? Anyway, crypto, as Kool-Aid and Irene said, I get filtered. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why you get filtered. It probably, if you get over 200 characters, I think is a rule. Petting my cat is with intrinsic and extrinsic. Yes. Kappa. So, anyway, the point being, crypto, that intrinsic is something you do because it's fun. So, like, when you were playing Fortnite with Hazed, that's fun to do. You just like doing it. Extrinsic would be like the views you get for live streaming. It's the outside motivation. The discussion of today was talking about how you need to find a balance of the two. Because if you go in intrinsic, only do intrinsic, then you won't really grow because you have no focus on what other people want. If you only do extrinsic and you're focusing only on what other people want, then you struggle motivating yourself to continue to make that content. So you have to find a way to do both of them. And people have been asking questions. So is there any other questions about examples on how I figured it out? I think he left the view. Is back to... Crypto's internet's not exactly 100%. Anyway, but that's really funny. Never mind. So, is there any more questions related to how motivation works or ideas that you guys have in regards to how you could apply to yourselves? That's all I got for tonight. Okay, Kool-Aid Moonwalk. What about you, Rain and Receive Music? And to all three of you lovely people, I'm still thinking about how I'd want to do the Let's Play plus content thing. And the only way that I've thought of so far has required a couple streams. And I don't know if I want to do that. But I might feel more comfortable with this idea of like having a more casual stream and then a less casual stream. So I don't know. I have to figure it out. I used to do 2 streams a week, and that was very doable. And I think it could be doable again, but I gotta think about it. Actually, I'm forming an idea right now. It would be like stream 1, and then I'd upload a video that's edited of that stream, and then hold on, I see a real question. Don't hate to ask anything. You should love to ask questions. Is there any way you can expand about getting past extrinsic skills? Oh, past the extrinsic kills intrinsic? You said you talk to people as in you talk about your stress. Let's see. I'm going to read Receive Music's thing real quick as I think about yours, Arain. Real world example. Okay, I've been doing photography for the sake of it, but now it has caught up to where I actually have gotten a paid photo shoot for this Friday. That would be an extrinsic bonus. Now, Receive Music, this actually could potentially perfectly do this. If, not saying you are, if you were nervous about it, nervous about the success of extrinsic, that would be something that potentially would remove the intrinsic value because you're like, well, I love taking pictures, but now I'm scared. Arain, is that what you're referring to here? Is that you're referring to this idea that the extrinsic can kill the intrinsic joy because you are worried about the stressful side of things? Just to make sure I'm understanding. Yes, okay. There is a thing known as the imposter syndrome. It's this idea that you don't think you deserve or get these things and that it's wrong. It's very common in academia. I experienced it too, working with Monolith. Why did they hire me? I'm just some normal guy. And then I discovered that I was really, really valuable and was like, holy crap, I know a lot. But the point of imposter syndrome is you think you don't. This reminds me a little bit of imposter syndrome because it's this idea that you've now stopped having fun because you care about the success. It's good to care about the success. However, if it's going to cut into your funness, then the next question would be, what's the point of you doing this? And this is where you need to think about it internally, and this becomes a personal experience. Some of the questions that I think would be worth asking yourself would be something like, when I feel this way, specifically, when I feel like the extrinsic is killing the intrinsic, what in me is specifically causing that? Is it that I feel a stress to perform? Is it that I feel I can't be myself or my character? Is it that I feel that I'm not worthy of these views? I think those are some good questions to start asking yourself. Because if you feel, it could be something like, is it worth doing if I feel bad about it? That would be another intrinsic, extrinsic question. And then, and very importantly, what is this thing inside me that brings up this thought? So receive music. I am nervous, but still in a good way, and you put it into words. Kublai, I'm happy for the job, but wondering why I've been chosen. So receive music. This is the weirdest part of that. Because you know what you're doing. They got you because you have a skill that they need and they don't have, but you have it. You're worth it. It's a weird thought. Normally, we all put it off on everyone else. But think about it from yourself as a third person. If you met you with your skill level, you'd be like, yeah, go for it. Kool-Aid Moonwalk says, I think this example is evident with the big YouTubers who made it through gaming, like PewDiePie, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye. They branched out and changed their content. So, PewDiePie is an interesting discussion point on that, because I don't know how much, I actually don't know much about their background, but I do know that PewDiePie has, within the last year, put out a video about how he was feeling down about his content. He didn't like what he was doing. So he changed his content to an intrinsic playing PUBG. He wanted to play that game, and so he played it. He changed his content to just focus on that intrinsic value. He could get away with just intrinsic, right? And he was also still somewhat extrinsic, but it's just something to keep in mind that he actually did change for that. And I think all these guys have probably done it at some point where they went more extrinsic, more extrinsic, more extrinsic, and then realized, I guess I should go intrinsic. Even with their success, they didn't stick to the content that got them. Yeah, Kool-Aid Moonwalk, actually, yeah, you got a point with that. But that's not 100% what's happening with them. That is, they did change content because you do have to kind of evolve your content over the time. That's part of the extrinsic side. But they did I do know that PewDiePie specifically has talked about changing his content because it was more fun to change it. He wanted to make the videos he wanted to make. And that's something that could be death for another YouTube channel if not sticking well with the extrinsic stuff. But he did, I'm assuming. He figured it out. So, with that, Arain, those questions again, that I think are important. I'm going to try to remember what it was. When you're feeling that feeling that's making you go like extrinsic's killing intrinsic, ask yourself what inside is making that feeling that way, and then also ask what specifically is causing that. If it's the desire to perform, is it the desire to, like, thinking that you don't deserve it? Is it the, like, this extra effort is, it's the extra effort required to it? Is there something in the process? This is one that gets me a lot. Is there something in the process that you don't like? For example, both Kool-Aid Moonwalk and Arain, this is, I guess, to whoever's watching the VOD and for Receive Music, I used to, so one of their things in Patreon is I give them my notes that I make. But what I used to do is I used to write them up and correct them. But I decided that was really time-consuming and didn't really make me feel good. And so I changed it to, I'm giving them, like, one-to-one talks in Discord, where we just start chatting about being like, I think you should do this. And then we talk about why and how and that kind of thing. And right now it's really unstructured. It's really just for interactions, and it's horribly unscalable. but I think it makes me happier, and it makes me feel like I can provide more too. So that's an example of my intrinsic alteration, but hopefully to maintain the same extrinsic outcome. Arain, does that help you? And then Kool-Aid Moonmouth can receive music. Do you understand what I'm saying to Arain as well? Little Tai Chi. Sort of. Are you able to... Now, is this something that you want to ask about more in the Discord? Because we do have more time here, and I do think this is good for these lovely people and whoever's watching later. I forgot the specific question. No worries. It was related to the feeling of extrinsic motivators killing intrinsic motivators. This idea that once you add a secondary outside benefit to something from the joy... I guess an example that we talked about with that bouldering climbing thing. Like if I was paid to boulder, would I have the same intrinsic joy out of doing it if I was paid to do it? And the answer is it depends. If I was paid the same amount, a certain amount regardless of how well I performed, or if I was paid an amount that didn't require me to add a bunch of extra hard training sessions to it, I might feel better or worse, depending. Is that kind of getting... do the little dance. See, these are the moments when I think about how the gaming part would work really well. Someone just scored a really good basketball shot outside. So I see there's no definite answer for it. It's very personal, Kool-Aid Moonwalk, yeah. I mean, even that discussion about the gym and discipline we talked about earlier, some people love lifting weights. I don't. Some people love it. And those people, good on them. A lot of people are very envious of that ability that they have. If you discover bouldering like I did, I love bouldering. Some people don't, though. Some people don't like gym, some people don't like bouldering, and then they have to find something else that's intrinsic and extrinsic. Or they have discipline. I think you could have both like paid ads to your own self-worth. That's an interesting part, receive music. I don't really know what that means. Let's see, Arain, the answer is fine. It's just more me having to figure out how to get over it. It's just seeing how others cope in general. Yeah. It is personal. I started coping once I started having more responsibility. And then succeeding. Success. You ever hear the phrase, fake it till you make it? What ends up happening when you do that and you act... The point, actually, first let's talk about it. The point of it is you act like you deserve it, even when you don't feel like you do. So you're like, I don't... Like for Steve Music, if he goes in there, I've never... I'm going to use the gender neutral. If they go in there and they say, this is how you should do your shots, this is how you do this, you're going to look great, take these positions and pictures, and they act confident and calm, no one will ever be able to tell their skill level or think that that's their first one. It's absolutely Receive Music will do great. Now, eventually, the more times Receive Music does it and continues to fake that feeling, one day, Receive Music will realize, oh my god, I've made it, because I don't even feel scared anymore. But that's kind of like what happens with you, Arain, where you fake it till you make it. You believe that you deserve it up to a point, and then eventually one day you realize it just is the truth. That was, for me, the major moment that happened was when I was annoyed that we were getting under, like, 50,000 views on a YouTube video or something like that. That our live streams weren't hitting like the same level that they used to be on YouTube, because on this channel my like biggest things like are just now hitting 50,000 views, but on Shadow of War I was like, they're not getting above 100,000, and it was like, holy shit, I'm complaining about something so massive, literally tens of thousands times bigger. That just sort of happens. You just sort of discover yourself there. You never really feel like that. That feeling never goes away. You don't notice it gone until something like clicks you. And so the advice is to fake it till you make it, right? Because it's like, well, it doesn't really go away, so you might as well just pretend it's not there. Because then it does go away. One of those weird, like, meditative things, right? Where the moment that your thoughts clear are when you allow your thoughts to do whatever they want. You don't try to squish them away. You don't try to get rid of them. You don't try to stop thinking. You just let yourself go. Suddenly, you're not thinking anymore. I feel like this would be something, Arain, where I would be able to serve you best asking you the questions and you telling me the answers. But with that said, do you wish to mention it here? No, not here. That's fair. It's very fair. So I'm done. Cool. So that'll be a Discord thing. That'll be a wonderful thing for us to do over the Discord. You have a private Discord conversation, potentially even a phone call, which is completely outside of what I normally do, but fuck it. Though I might be busy this weekend, so at least in the Discord to start. So, receive music. Kool-Aid Moonwalk. Any questions? This is how adults act. Like this. Not for now? That sounds good. Also receive music. It's a joy to see you. Thank you for coming by. Kool-Aid Moonwalk, glad to hear that you're doing good. I hope, Kool-Aid Moonwalk, that the Intrinsic and Extrinsic has given you a lot of things to think about. Remember that thinking takes a long time, sometimes, but for me it does. So if it's like 2 weeks or a month before you feel like you have a good answer, that's okay. Thinking is good. It takes time. Thanks, Professor, says Arain. You're welcome. As I said, I think our next step is that I'll be asking you the questions and you'll be telling me the answers, and that should be more helpful. Resonated with this topic? Good to hear. So thank you guys again for coming. It was a joy, and thank you for being part of this, me figuring out if it makes sense to just do these long QAs and leave these on, or not. But also to figure out what kind of potential gameplay concept mixy stuff we'll do. So anyway, y'all are lovely. Yeah. Very lovely so. Goodbye, friends.